start to shut them down? Is it just under?
I've been reading the history since this is coming up next week of Saint Pactrick's Day. Probably one of the most godliest men you will ever read about historically. If you ever get a book, I think, written by William Federer, he's on the level with David Barton, wall builder, and what his it's a short paperback, maybe 80, 100 pages. But it gives him the history of who this man was and how he became literally to be a bishop in Ireland. His story starts as a young man who was out of a well-to-do family, a prominent family in his town in Great Britain. And him and his buddies, they were pretty useless as spoiled brats playing on the beach, and these Irish slave traders come in at about 50 at a clip, 50 boats at a clip, and basically they steal people and bring them back to the country of Ireland and sell them. So his name, Patricus, which is actually the Latin word for noble. His actual name was S-U-C-A-T, Sucat. And what?
First name was Mayron Sucat, yeah.
And so he is a very interesting character because he was taken from the beach at about age 16 and was an unbeliever. And he said, if I would have died during this slave internment of 6 years, I would have gone to hell. He says, but about a couple years into this, where he was taking care of his Druid priest owner, he remembered his mother praying and his dedication in the local, I guess you would call it the English Anglican Church or the English Church of Great Britain. And he gave his heart to the Lord at about age 19. And he started having dreams and visions about escape. And God would give him these dreams that he would go across Ireland and find a boat to get back home. Well, lo and behold, this is what happened. He had to travel about 200 miles across because he was sold to this Druid priest who was known for his meanness. And oftentimes, as he was laying naked as a shepherd boy in a cave, and you could just picture Ireland, cold, wet, damp, and God brought favor to his life as he gave himself over to the Lord. So he had this dream and vision. He ran across Ireland and he found a boat. And the legend, or as much as they can put together, he was able to hop on a boat that took Irish wolfhounds to Great Britain. And he was given a chance to for passage if he took care of these 2 Irish wolfhounds. Now, if you know Irish wolfhounds, they can stick their face right here. They're big.
Oh yeah,
they're big.
Yeah.
And so he takes a ride with the boat, and one of the comments of why did his dogs behave themselves compared to all the other dogs? Kind of unusual. Did God have favor upon Patrick already at that time? Yes, he did. Well, lo and behold, if you know anything about Ireland and Great Britain, there's just this waterway that goes in there, and it's always stormy. Well, it blew them all the way down to France. Way past, down to the end. And you're talking about in the 400s, and France had just gone through war, and it was decimated, the whole land. No food. They said they were for weeks without food, until finally these people who had these dogs, and they were, everybody was, you don't eat for weeks, you don't feel so good. So the guys actually said to Patrick, says, what about your God? Doesn't he take care of you? Why don't you pray? And he did, and lo and behold, what would you call a bunch of pigs come in, wild boar?
Oh yeah.
It says, and they ate for 2 days. You could just picture. I mean, they were able to, pig out, so to speak. Pig out. And but it took them 2 years to walk through France and to get back home. Now imagine you show up at home. Your kid now is disappeared at 16. He's home at about 24. And then he comes home and he says, you know what, I'm going to go into the ministry and I want to go back to Ireland and preach the gospel. Well, the Church of England was totally against him because, don't you know, there's pagans there? They actually cut your head off and they shrink it and they hang it on your belt loop, and these are the kind of people that, you really want to go there? And he says, I thought Jesus came for people who were broken. And he spent the next 15 years and he became a bishop. And then he went back to Ireland and stayed there. And the biggest problem that he had was with the Church of England, because they were jealous, I believe, of his success in Ireland. He never married, never had affairs or anything like that. His heart was totally devoted to God. And they say in the book that he had miraculous interventions. I mean, kind of like walking on the water type of stuff, and because his heart was totally dedicated, and in effect was able to touch the lives of Ireland in such a way that when he died, of course later on they didn't give him sainthood. The Catholic Church actually gave him sainthood, but his death was marked as March 17th. So last year, when I was in the nursing home, I wanted to buy a cake for the holiday of Patrick's Day. So I had to wonder. I said, so what do you say on the top of the cake? Happy Death Day? Because it's unusual. You celebrate a birthday, but not a death day. And even something like that is like, my brain is challenged to why. And of course, maybe they could cast it out to your guys. I mean, when I go home to be with the Lord, to me, that's the greatest day of all. I mean, I'm ready today. I've had enough. But you know what? God says, oh, so you want to die for me? He says, I'll tell you what, why don't you just live for me? Now that's the challenge for us today. Live for God no matter what. And guess what? Some of those challenges are hard, right? Anybody volunteer for a hard day? No hands are up. And yet they come. Right? And yet God said, lo, I am with you always. So if you ever get a chance to just read about his life, it's just an awesome book. I mean, really is inspirational. Now, I don't believe I have that kind of faith, like he had. I have a piece of it, and that's enough, But will God grow me into something greater or more? I don't know.
Side point, having been brought up Roman Catholic, what they did, the same thing they did for all their martyrs, quote unquote. They honored the dead. And in most cases, if you really check into the Roman Catholic Church, the things that have been in the Roman Catholic Church, most of the people they consider as martyrs, they were the ones that had to kill.
Yeah. The very church itself.
Christianity from the history of Saint Pactrick when he was sold into slavery. One of the things he did was start the kennel. So the dog connection, when he got over to the ship to take him out of Ireland, they didn't want him on the ship. They discovered that they had large dogs
Irish Wolfhound.
Irish Wolfhound. And Patrick the common Irish Wolfhound. That's why he got on the ship.
He was notable. It was so notable.
Because he'd just been in slavery with Irish Wolfhound.
What you put on cake for Saint Patrick's Day, that didn't go wrong.
Oh yeah?
I remember it. Well, I took a car wash down the street.
I have absolutely no fear of that
They're not celebrating Saint Patrick's Day here.
One, the Bible says we drink any deadly thing won't hurt us. And two, if I get it and I go home to be with the Lord, I win anyway. How are you going to scare me with that?
I mean, yeah, what's the best healing is to get out of this body.
You know, so where's the downside? Why live in fear?
Well, that's why it said fear.
Yep.
And it marks your faith to where you're at. Now, the baby Christian.
Right.
I still want to get married, I still want to do this, I mean, I've heard all the reasons.
Oh yeah.
You know, now, you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. We can look forward to the good, but we still maybe have to go through the bad and the ugly.
Oh yeah.
But we've accepted that as a mature Christian, okay? Many don't have that. Candyland Christianity will not work in this atmosphere.
Just a pie in the sky thing.
Well, again, so how do you, as an elder in faith, bring a spirit of to those who don't believe or haven't been trained to believe God is good no matter what. And that's challenging. Now, how much of the church really is in that position to have that kind of faith?
Because it's not taught.
It's not.
It's not taught. It's all, a lot of them are just feel-good religion. Everything's good, but they don't want to teach you anything about prophecies, about what's to come. They won't teach you about, you know, the things that can go wrong and how to handle it. Just, you know, come in, sit down, pat you on the back, we'll take your tithe, and then off you go for the week. It's like I've been saying it for years. A lot of people go to church on Sunday and then dance with the devil all week long.
Some things can't be taught. They have to be caught.
They what?
They have to be caught.
Yeah.
That only comes from spending time with the Lord.
Yep.
Getting in His Word and getting that reassurance.
But take, for instance, Patrick. He had to be a slave for 6 years. You know, it recalibrates your life. And then it took him over 2 years to get back home when it was supposed to be just a little bit. God didn't give him that part of the dream. He gave him the part that he's going home. Now, you know, that storm, okay, there's storms in our life. what are we going to do with them? It's going to take us to places maybe that we don't volunteer for.
Probably not.
You know? And this is what, oftentimes I think that the church, in a sense, doesn't prepare you for those storms, because the word says, "Lo, I am with you always." Well, even through hell, even through high water, even through the floods, you know? And so the hymns declare that, that he would do that, but, well, what about the lion's den and the fiery furnace? Whatever you need to see. I just read Daniel
When
2.
Peter walked on the water, he was right there when Peter started to Moses. And I think that's what we have to learn as we grow. You have to learn to walk on water, spiritually walk on water. What a problem! What a storm! Like you say, storm is up. You got to spiritually be able to walk through it, because I hear people say, "Well, why would God let this happen? Or why would God do this?" And it's like, I thought God didn't do it. The world did it. God will use it to teach it. You can get stronger by learning through it. But, you know, what do we even said in the world? If it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. How much more so spiritually with God, you know?
And it's not without pain. You know, this quote-unquote no pain is just not real. You know what? You may fail. You may be broken. You may go through things that you would never think. But God is with you. See, that's the part that isn't taught well enough. That God is with you. You know, how many of the churches teach the loss of salvation because you go down XYZ road or wherever? No, God will cut your life short. And it's usually because of consequences. Not because of anything else, just like anything. Listen, if you put diesel fuel in your car, it won't run. Guaranteed.
527.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. So, you know, Fritz, you know, with some of the health issues you have gone through, I'm sure your faith was challenged. God, where are you? I hurt so bad. My wife hurts so bad. Where are you?
Fear and faith are polar opposites. Okay? And you cannot operate fear if you have faith. And you can't operate faith if you have fear. Okay, so the Bible does say there is something you can do about fear. And that's right here in 1 John. That there is no fear in love. The perfect love casts out fear. Because fear has torment. But he who fears has been made perfect. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. That word perfect isn't perfect like what we think perfect is. Mature. Okay, so we're talking about the maturity of the believer here also. You know, and here's where we fall short of maturity. Because we don't really help them grow in that area. You know.
And that there's also, you know, people say, what about that in the scripture where it says, fear of the Lord? And you don't realize that when you go into the old languages, that fear is a respect.
Yeah,
It's not a terror. It's awe and a reverence, right, exactly. And it's people mix all that up because they don't read the word.
You know, when your world's falling apart and you're going, you don't think you can handle one more thing. I think it's important to remember that God said He won't give you more than you can handle. At times it seems like, Lord, I just can't handle it. It's one more thing, you know what I mean? But that's His promise, so you got to hang on to that. You know what I mean?
But, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about suicide.
Yeah.
You know? And I find that young Christians are committing suicide. You'll find out that a lot of them are young Christians that are doing it. But then what do we preach when we bring them to the Lord? You're going to have pie in the sky and everything honky-dory and whatever else. So they've got this, oh, something's wrong with me because I'm not experiencing it. Mine having to go through literally hell on earth. You know? So, you know, we have a share of blame ourselves in that. As we have to let them know that, hey, you're going to have challenges, trials, tribulations. You know, that's part of it. But with God, He'll bring you through them. And that's the whole issue with God. Because perfect love casts out all fear. And that perfect love is best demonstrated by Christ going to the cross for us.
I'm so thankful that as a young Christian I was taught spiritual gravity from Pastor Joe Owens. That, you know, well, before I was on Satan's side, he didn't bother me at all. I just went through and did everything I was doing bad, and life was great. Now all of a sudden I changed teams. Now the hordes of hell are coming against me, you know what I mean? And because I was taught that, I was prepared for that, you know what I mean? But when you tell somebody, oh, you're saved now, life's going to be a cakewalk, I think that's one of the worst things we can do to a people.
Remember what Pastor,
Setting them up for defeat.
remember what Pastor Bill used to say to us a lot? But you got to be aware because Satan does his best work right in the front row.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of funny.
Come to church every Sunday.
Well, it's not funny, but when I was living in Tennessee, I was in a Church of God in Tennessee, and this young couple comes in, and the church is about 300 people, so it's a good medium-sized church, and they get saved. And the whole congregation is just celebrating and the whole line of yards. Service ends. They walk outside and someone stole their car.
Yes, honey.
You know, there's a thing that we're mature Christians at that point. Because what are you going to think as a baby believer, newly saved, give your heart to the Lord, so steal your car, your family car, you know? They weren't the richest people in that area either.
Just to show you how we talk about the churches mostly, that no one tells anyone about bad side of it. Walk into a youth group and ask one question to the kids. See what kind of an answer you get. Who's the prince and power of the air? The kids hear prince and power?
Derek. No, they would.
They'll say Jesus.
Yep.
Almost every time.
Yep. They're not taught otherwise.
Yeah.
But secondly,
That's what I'm saying. In a youth group.
yeah.
They're not taught. We don't want to scare them.
I don't know, can you even
Scare them into heaven.
Yeah, I wasn't that much, but I'm a rock
The difference between scaring and that,
Yeah, I was like, this is
So you got to go through
like, I didn't have any others yet.
the whole
Somewhere in this.
premise of mentorship has died in the last 3-4 decades. And where it has been sanctioned off into different areas where you have no mentorship. Closest thing we have today is maybe some cell groups, that occur, and that comes down to it's usually the elders getting together. They're not coming on board to come in with the youth, and that's what really needs to happen. The old-fashioned, I went to one, I don't know, 2 months ago, and it was the Bless Me Club. I'm sorry, and I see it over and over again, and I just like, I said, so, how do we bring in those that are, well, you have to, I don't know, I think you got to start skateboarding or something. Why? Imagine a skateboard under your feet.
Been there.
Just
didn't end well.
Yeah, it didn't end well. But like when Calvary Chapel opened up that skate park,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you got to do. mean, you gotta go in and get them, and then you gotta feed them. You know, you gotta feed them. You gotta invest in them. When's the last time you, as a person, and this becomes very personal, blessed somebody outside of your church? Pretty challenging. And I'll just say this not to boast or anything. I just want to say it as an example. In 2 years, I believe I've given out those $2 bills, right? Use them as tips or give them to kids. I've given out over 1,000. And you know what? You get people's attention when you give them money. And what does the Bible say about using mammon? Use mammon for what? Do something to affect people's lives. That's what gets their attention today. When you give a kid something like that, and all of a sudden, you know, it becomes effective. And wouldn't it be wonderful if the church did more of that, you know, with outreaches and stuff like that, when the church is working with the homeless or anything like that? Listen, it is an absolute loss to go and help the homeless financially.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And so the church as a whole only looks to self-propel itself, and yet I see everything in the Gospels reaching out to people.
Oh, yeah.
When I was reading,
When you go visit somebody sick, they're not putting something in the offering plate.
no,
When you go visit the hungry, or the orphans,
Isaiah, what does it say? True religion is this: go and visit the widows and the orphans. Go and visit those who are in prison.
Yeah, $1.99.
You know what? It's not convenient. It's not convenient. Go help somebody.
get out of that comfort zone I was talking about.
And so, you know, I don't know. And maybe this whole thing, with the whole issue of coronavirus, maybe this will change. Because you know what? If the churches have no money, maybe the people will actually get back into touching people again outside the church. Who knows your neighbor? Anybody? Okay? It's pretty unusual to know your neighbor. I know Fritz's neighbors.
My case, the most
If I brought over a 12-pack, it wouldn't last long. But they would smile. I would get their attention.
It's hard to preach going on.
They understand a different story.
Yeah.
You know, they just do, and I understand that. You know, it's just unique, and so I think that all this is going on is going to help us do something really different outside the box, because we're forced outside the box.
You know, I think you probably do this. I'm laughing about that because one thing I've been doing, and Andre knows this, he's been over here, he's done a lot of it. He's been cleaning up the property, getting it nice and neat, whatever else. And then these guys, they all congregate right across the street from me and have their beer parties every night. Their cooking parties.
They don't wait for night.
Yeah, it always waits for that. So all that trash flows in, doing all that breaking and all that. And I'm not actually very happy with that. So I went and loaded on them a little bit. You know? What's wrong with you guys? You got trash can there, trash can there. You can't put it in the trash can? I said, I didn't say you couldn't drink. I didn't say you couldn't do what you're doing. Don't be sloppy about it. I mean, I was getting pretty good at it. Well, it was the night that cold weather was around here. And, you know, I have a challenge with my wife because she's disabled in a lot of ways. We don't go out to the streets like Sam and you guys do a lot of times. I don't have to. I've got to cross the street. I got a homeless camp right across the street. Okay. So it's cold. Right after 2 of these guys out in Royal, it's cold. The wife comes up to me with some crochet blankets and says, "There's a mattress laying on the front yard. They're sleeping on the front yard. It's night like this." She goes, "Let's go over there and give them some blankets." Now you think I wanted to do that? Are you kidding? I wanted to take a blanket, tie it around my neck.
I would have ordered a steak and lobster if I would have known you were going to pick up.
The flesh is weak.
So, but, you know, my wife makes me a better person. You know, so we went over there, we looked at it, and we were going to give it to the females that were over there. They weren't there all of a sudden. And the very ones that were causing the most problem, my wife looks at it and goes, "Do you have any kind of a blanket or anything to get me this night?" "No." "Would you like one?" "Yeah." Okay. So,
Talking to the table.
you know, your mission field might be right across the street.
It really is.
And that's the care of people.
I think we often miss the tree walking in the forest. And Lord, give me eyes to see. You know, the principle of giving, I believe, has been given to us to train us to have eyes to see a need. And even the word comes out and says, if you have the means to help somebody and you don't do it, it doesn't have a good word to say after that. So have eyes to see, because you're going by them, or whatever's going on in your life. Because you know what? We're a blessed people. We really are. I mean, we ate breakfast in a warm place with a warm cup of coffee or water, you know, and we only need our daily bread. And when Jesus instituted that teaching, give me this day my daily bread, I really believe that it was an institution to create thankfulness in our heart. Because we don't need tomorrow's bread. And tomorrow's bread might not even be on the shelf, but God said He would take care of us. But a friend of mine who went into Walmart the other day, and she said, I couldn't believe the shelves were empty. And so this pandemic of fear, will God supply for you? Yes, He will. And will He supply also for those you see have need? Yes, He will. And that's the part of faith that I believe that is the exercise, like you would go and lift weights or something like that. Can you lift the weight off of somebody who's cold? Do they deserve it? No. Should they get it? Yes. And because in the thought of the realm of the whole thing, the only thing that matters is that somebody would see Jesus on the earth today, and like that old story is, maybe you're the hand that they need to see. They've seen and heard the church, but effectual, not like Saint Pactrick, who gave himself. And that's a good measurement to think about, you know, how effectual he really was. You know, I don't have that kind of faith. I have a little piece of it. But the encouragement is to have a little more. Have a little more. To give away, that's right. To give away. Have more to give away.
That's what causes it to grow. How much did you give away last night, Mike? Did you go out to the homeless feeding? That
Yeah.
good?
Well, there were 30 people there.
30 people? You did it all by yourself?
Well, Roger was there.
Oh, Roger.
Share a testimony. We were talking about how Jesus helped us with that. Thursday, we started our Bible class again at CSC Thursday morning with Pastor Mark. And we're working on one of Pastor Bill's old
Got lights here, expanded up here.
and
I gotta get in my house before.
I came out home from driving. My Bible says we go down to the
I'm
class.
gonna be moving out of my RV back into my house
And
here
Doris,
at the end of the month.
she's been going through
And then
this
I'll
year
have
battle with the cancers and all.
facilities
Praise the
to
Lord.
do more.
Scared, but she still spends a lot of time just resting. And Thursday morning I come in and I say, how you doing? She goes, I've been spending the whole morning with the Lord. And I said, oh, good. She goes, and then she started crying and she goes, He delivered me from the suppression I've had, this healing for months and months and months, and I'm nothing but a burden to me. And she said, he told me that I'm a blessing. And I said, absolutely, you're a blessing. I said, because it's asking more of me than I'm giving. I said, yes, it's a blessing. There's no way. That spirit was just all around us. And I left to go down to the Bible class. You all know and see his wife Elizabeth was dealing with the same kind of oppression. And I read, we started out, Pastor Mark asked me to read the opening that Pastor Bill had put on there, which was Acts 10:38. And it was how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and with power. He went about doing good and healing all who were oppressed by the devil, for God was with him. She said, I've heard that read hundreds of times over the years. Something hit her. And she was delivered. And when Mark and I and a few others prayed over her, and I said to her, I told her what happened with Doris. I said, you know what I realized? That spirit sat right with me all the way down to class because she knew we'd have to work there too. And she was delivered of it. And she was right there and he was just all the way to heaven. That's, it reminds me of the poem about footprints in the sand. Whenever you're at your lowest, Jesus will pick you up and carry you.
And we need, and that's why, even the verse on the back of the shirt is iron sharpens iron. That's a sharpening, but we also need the encouragement to strengthen one another, to encourage one another to go on. Because I can't imagine what it would be like in World War I in the trenches. Dirt, grime, bombs,
Mustard gas.
Yeah.
Blood, gut.
And
Machine guns on it.
just what sometimes it feels like you're in the trenches. And yet, again, go back to the word, and what does it say? And I am with you always, even unto the end.
You just call it this light affliction.
Yeah. In comparison. Yeah. But see, the immature can't understand that.
No.
And I understand that. I understand. That's why it's you who are called into maturity with the Lord, is to go and help those who are weak. Okay? So, and it's going to cost you your time, your talent, and your treasure.
Oh, never mind. No.
Well, in a culture of selfishness, which 2 Timothy chapter 3 talks about, where Mike brought it forward, we're selfish. Love is a pleasure rather than love is of God. So, I mean, there it is. And so fight it with all you can. Keep giving, keep doing the best you can. Listen, I wish I was a better person than I was.
No matter how many times you crucify that Adamic nature, every once in a while, once a rear its ugly head,
We have to learn to let that go because God already has. I was this.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a new creation.
Yeah.
That stuff is gone.
It's true.
Old things are passed away.
You know, you're talking about the churches too, and I heard this probably a couple of months ago, I heard someone talking about it. He said, you know, you're talking about the valleys and mountaintops and everything. You got to remember, all the action and everything's happening in the valleys, and like in the trenches, in the valleys. That's what you know. Then when you're climbing the mountain is where you're learning it. He said, so you don't reach the top of it until it's time to go home. All the way up, it's a learning experience that you get to enjoy. And I'm thinking about that. That's such a good way to look at it. But it's true. When we're just trying to stay in the valleys, we're right amongst all the
Bill
stuff.
sharing one Sunday about he'd been climbing this this mountain, trying to get to the top, and he thought he had reached the top. When he got there, he realized there was so much more to go. It was just a plateau where there was still a lot more. But he couldn't see it from where he was at before.
He used to have those.
That's the way the Christian walk is. Constantly got to move it forward.
When I lived in Tennessee, we had that kind of experience. We called them the foothills. Before the mount. And it's just like that.
Think you can see the top?